This is the first part of the tutorial on Kiwi Kai. After you have your initial sprites for your left and right facing Kiwi set up and your block, then you need to create some objects for those. So the object Kiwi is the first thing that we're going to look at, and we need to first of all put some motion on that. So what we want to do is have an event for when we press the left key on the keyboard. And when we do that, the first thing we want to do is change the sprite. Every time we press the left key, we want to change it into the left facing sprite. And then we want to see if the position to the left is free before we do anything else. So we're going to do a check if empty, and here we want to check, since we're facing left, if -4 on the x-axis is free, and we're only checking y 0 because it's only going to the left, and this is where we have to have that relative value. So we're saying, is x -4 from where I am currently, or where the Kiwi is currently, free? It can't move unless it's free. That's how we have it run into blocks. So that's what will stop it. And if it is free, then we want it to move. So we want it to move and jump to a position, and we want it to go -4 on the x, and again relative to where I am at the moment. That relative is key, otherwise it'll just jump to x -4. So we want to say move 4 backwards on the x-axis relative to where I am. The next thing we want to do is do a similar thing for the right. So if we add an event, keyboard, when we press the right arrow, same thing, we have to have it change, and we want it to change into the sprite, and we're going to have it in now to the right facing sprite, and then we need to check the position to see if it's empty. So check our position. Now this is going to be x in front of us 4 pixels and relative to where we are at the moment. And if so, then jump to a position, and we want to jump 4 pixels forward relative to where we are. Sorry, I was just going to pause that. Okay, then we need to create a new room. This initially is going to just be our testing room, and it's a good idea when you're actually doing your own games to have a testing room. And what we're going to do is use that block and put that around the edge of the room. So I'm holding down the shift and I'm dragging. And if we put it around the edge of the room, this creates a boundary. Now, it's best to leave the blocks on visible at the moment. These are solid and they're visible, and then once you have everything working, you can turn off the visibility and the actual player won't see it, but they'll still be solid invisible objects that things can bounce into and collide with. So the next thing that we want to do, must have put some things outside the room. Just testing. Okay, that's fine. We want to make sure when a kiwi jumps onto a platform that we make that it will be hit by, it will obey the laws of gravity. I'm going to go back here. What I forgot to try to test, which I should have before our next action, is if we put a kiwi into the room, will it actually move properly to the left and to the right? So I'll test that out before we test out our gravity. Yes, it should bounce off the wall, and that's because something is in front of it, can't go any farther. Although when I'm testing it here, I'm not getting it turning around, so I must have made an error in my code. I'll just check that. On my object kiwi, when I press the left, I want to change, I have changed into sprite kiwi right. I meant sprite kiwi left. Good thing I tested it. And now it's going the right way. Alright, ready to move on to the next step, which is gravity. So the next thing we want to do is have a step event, and on this step event we're going to check to see if the kiwi is hitting something solid, and if it right below it. So we'll see if it's hitting something solid below it, and if it's hitting something solid below it, then it stops. If not, that means it should be falling. So we're going to simulate gravity. So on our object kiwi, we're going to add a step event. And remember, the step event is something that happens continuously all throughout the game. So every step or every tick of the computer's clock, it's going to be checking this event. And here we want to check if empty again. So this time we're checking to see if the space immediately below, which is the Y, so one below, we want to see if that is empty or not, and we have to here tick the relative button. So one immediately below where I am at the moment, remember that's relative. And if it is empty, so if there's nothing immediately below me, then I need to be falling. So I need to be moving down or falling. That's how we simulate gravity. And I want to be falling. Oh, excuse me, I picked the wrong one here. I want to be falling down, and if we're thinking about direction, 270 degrees on the game maker sort of rotation is directly down. 0 degrees is directly to your right, 270 is down, 180 is left, and 90 is up towards the top. So I want to be falling or going down, and we'll have gravity set at about 0.5. Not too fast. Not too big of a pull. And then we need to add an else. So if it is, so if that position below me is free, set the gravity downward at about 0.5, pulling me downward. Otherwise, I want to stop that downward fall. So our 270 direction, our gravity is just 0. So that will stop that downward fall. The other thing is, since we've got gravity pulling on us, we want to be able to limit the speed that we're falling at. So we're going to do another test here. So we're going to test if, and whenever we have tests, those are like questions. So we're going to test to see if this variable, which is v speed, or our vertical speed that we're falling at, is greater than 10. And if it is greater than 10, then we're starting to fall too fast. So we want to slow that down, or we don't want to keep falling faster and faster and faster and faster. So then what we're going to do is set our vertical speed stable at 10. So check, that's saying check to see if there's something directly below us. If not, I should be falling because there's nothing to hold me up. So set the direction to 270, downwards gravity. Else, I must have something below me, so gravity is just 0. Nothing pulling me down. As I'm falling, if I start falling too quickly, if my vertical speed gets larger than 10, just stabilize it and set it to 10. That's what that's saying. So to test that out, we need to go to our room, and we can make a platform object with the block. Hold down the shift. And I'll delete my Kiwi, and I'll put my Kiwi in on top of the platform. And hopefully what will happen is once the Kiwi walks off the platform, it'll fall until it hits the bottom and then stop. So to test that out, yes, I can still walk on that platform. When I walk off the edge, it should stop. However, it hasn't stopped because we don't have a move to contact. So what we need to do is we need to say if it collides with the block, so if the Kiwi collides with the block, we want it to stop. So we want to make sure we set the vertical speed when it collides with the block to 0. And then we also use this move to contact, and the move to contact will basically make it not jump. It has it move smoothly to its contact point. Now we need to put it here, but we'll rearrange directions in a minute. So we're saying direction, the direction that I'm going currently at a maximum of 16 against solid objects. So it's going to move. And if I put it right above, now I'm going to test again. See if my Kiwi moves, and there, now it stops. So what I've done is I've got gravity telling it to fall. It's moving to a contact point in the direction that it's going. That makes it sort of land smoothly. But when it collides with this block object, it knows it's going to stop. And the last thing for this part of the tutorial is we're going to look at jumping. So when we hit the spacebar key, we want the Kiwi to be able to jump, because we'll have different platforms throughout the room and we want it to jump from platform to platform. So on our Kiwi object, we need to add another event with the keyboard, and that's going to be the space, because the space is hitting the space bar is the event. And what we want to do is add the actions, and we want it to be able to jump up. Again, we want to check to see if there's a collision. And this one's the opposite of the check empty. So here we have check for a collision. Now what this is saying is that you can't jump, you have to think of it, you can't jump off of something if there's nothing below you. So you can't jump in midair. So I better check to see if there's something below me that I can actually push off of or jump off of to make it realistic. Otherwise, your Kiwi could just jump in midair. So I check to see if there's something below me. And what I should do is I check to see if X is 0, Y 1, solid, because I can only jump off of solid objects relative to where I am at the moment. So if there's a collision below me, then I'm going to set my vertical speed, but this time I'm going to set it so that I'm going up. So -10, a vertical speed of -10 means when I jump, I'm going up like -10 pixels, or the speed of -10 upwards. And you can change that later if you want. You can alter that. You can make it -20, -5. This is a really good thing if you want to have like power-ups. Power-ups could make you jump higher, and or if you run into something that slows you down, you could maybe have the jumping reduced or your vertical speed reduced. Click OK. Now, in order to test that out, we need to make some platforms that the Kiwi can jump on, so we'll add some more blocks. And we'll test this out, fall down, see if we can get the Kiwi to move and jump. Now what should happen is I can't use it. I can jump when I'm touching something, when it's below me, but I can't just keep hitting the space bar to get higher and higher and jump in the air. So if you get an instance where your Kiwi is jumping, then you probably haven't checked to see if it's against a solid object. And just to show you, we could modify that on our object Kiwi with the space bar. If we wanted it to jump less, for example, if it ran into an enemy object, collided into an enemy object, so it had less power, and you can see we can't jump very high, and that might happen for a time until you got a different power up. I'll go ahead and fix mine back, make sure that the Kiwi can actually jump at 10, 10 negative, which is up in vertical space.